Yeah, hi everyone. This is Anupam this side, and today I have a special guest on the Women's Day, and her name is Kavita Bothra. She is the founding partner of Primassure in mutual funds and all that, and she'll advise us in these uncertain times where to invest our money because we know the market's been volatile. You invest everything in equities, that is not the way to go. I let her speak more. So, hi, Kavita. Welcome to my channel and a very happy Women's Day to you.
Hi Anupam, thank you for having me and a very happy International Women's Day to you and all our participants today on the show.
I will talk about three type of funds. One is
Okay.
the balanced advantage fund. One is blue chip funds, large cap funds, and one are the Flexicap. These have been very popular during these uncertain times. I want you to tell our viewers, uh, what is the basic definition of these funds and how are they
Okay.
different?
That as a categorization
Yeah.
of each type of fund. So if I'm looking at probably to begin with, if let me say large cap funds. So
Hmm.
large cap funds primarily invest in large cap companies.
Yeah.
So which are typically the industry leaders. They have stable earnings. They're also more stable during market downturns.
Hmm.
So we can say that maybe the growth potential is more stable. It may not be as high as a small cap or a mid cap, but largely so therefore less growth potential in a very fast rising market, but relatively stable and safe. So
Hmm.
that is like a large cap. If I look at a flexi cap fund, so
Hmm.
flexi cap fund, these funds invest largely in large, mid, and small cap stocks.
Hmm.
FlexiCap also has the flexibility to
Yeah.
adjust their allocation as per the market condition. So the fund manager has that flexibility. He can adjust as per the market condition. So if there is a varying market condition, these funds can adapt and they perform best when the fund manager actually, leverages that shift between the market caps effectively. So let's say if the trend is a large cap trend, then he'll invest more in the large cap and lesser in the mid and small. But if the trend is more mid cap, he has the flexibility to decide to put more money into the flexi cap. So that is why it's called as a flexi cap. And the last, and I should say the most stable, is the balance advantage fund, as you asked me. So
Hmm.
what is it? It is basically, like a dynamic asset allocation fund. That means what? That they manage the investment into the fund by spreading it into equity and debt. So depending on the market conditions, they can move between equity and debt. So if let's say, if you want to reduce the risk, so right now, like the market is very volatile. So therefore, to reduce the risk of the funds which are invested, the fund manager would put more money in debt. And if the markets are going up, then to capitalize on that, they would move more money towards equity. So generally, this is the broad definition of flexi cap, large cap, and balance advantage fund. If you look at how do you identify that how can you compare, or what is the basis if I want to compare these three funds, these three types of funds, then on what basis can I compare? So let's say if I talk about what is the important or primary investment pattern of these three types of funds, so we can say that in the flexi cap funds, it is large, mid, and small cap. In a large cap fund, you will have the large cap stocks. And in a balanced advantage fund, you will have equity and debt. So this becomes the primary investment category of these three types. The second part, what we can talk is how do these funds adapt to the market? Like, what is the market adaptability? When the market is performing in whatever manner, how do these funds adapt to it? So, for a flexi cap fund, it is high. So, if the market is doing good on a large cap, it can quickly move to large cap. If the market is doing good on mid, it can quickly move to mid. For a large cap fund, the market adaptability is slightly moderate, as in it's because it invests only in the large cap stocks. Whatever is the market trend, these funds will continue to invest in large cap funds.
Mhm.
And when you come to balanced advantage, यहाँ पे भी market adaptability is very high, because let's say if the market is doing good, more money will move towards equity. If the market is volatile, it can quickly go towards debt. So the adaptability of these funds is in this manner. The third type of thing what you can look at is basically a risk level. So what is the risk if I'm looking at Flexicap funds? So it is basically moderate to high risk. So for example, if trend is mid and small, these funds will have more investments in mid cap or small cap stocks. So high risk is high return, but if the market trend goes down, then the risk level is high and the potential to come down is also high. So the risk level is moderate to high. In a large cap fund, the risk is low or moderate. Basically, it's stable, as I told you earlier. And in a balanced advantage fund, again, the risk is moderate, because if the market is going down, it tries to adjust the risk by putting in debt. So this is the risk level for each type of each category of these funds. What are the return potentials? So, for example, in a flexi cap fund, the return potential is very, very high. In a large cap fund, the return potential is moderate. And even in a balanced advantage fund, the return potential is moderate because आपको equity and debt का balance मिल जाता है.
For a very conservative investor, say someone who's because
Yeah.
this correction has kind of shaken a lot of investors. This was like after 29 years consecutive 5 months the market fell. Of course, this was a global phenomenon. There was this report which is saying that uh, funds managed by women are doing better. Okay, so there's some if someone is very conservative, which out of three is best for them?
Conservative, the best category to go in for is a balanced advantage fund.
Hmm.
Because so the first important thing is you should not lose sleep over your investments. You know, आप कहीं पे भी पैसा अगर इन्वेस्ट करते हो और फिर आपकी रात की नींद चली जाती है, तो आई वुडेंट रेकमेंड कि आप वैसे जगह इन्वेस्टमेंट्स करें. But having said that, like if I'm saying ki, if your question is pertaining to which is the most conservative amongst
Yeah.
these three,
Yes.
then a balanced advantage definitely is a conservative fund, because you have asset allocation in terms of मुझे बहुत risk नहीं लेनी है, so
Mm.
there is debt also, and I still want to take the upturn of the market, तो उसमें equity भी आ जाता है. So there is a balance. If the market is volatile, the fund manager will shift to debt. If the market is going up, they will move to equity. So in that sense, if I look at which is a more conservative fund, then you can look at a balanced advantage fund.
During this downturn, there was a lot of talk, especially by the PMS funds, that you should move to large caps, buying equity, and everyone was kind of because small caps and mid caps actually moved into the bear market, category, and ruthless fall dekha. So, like, how does this, large cap funds, what are the advantages of investing in a long term large cap funds, and what is the average rate of return? If you can give us a very conservative number, like how much percentage, if we look at it.
So typically, the advantages of investing in a large cap fund. So largely, the top 100 companies in are largely very stable. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, so they have the ability to, like, they will not react so much in
Yeah.
terms of if the market is coming down. So they're more stable. So that's one of the good bets in terms of a large cap. Risk level is also moderate. you know. Although the return potential is moderate, but ideally, as I always say, that it is very important to spread your investments into different baskets. So a large cap fund could be a good bet because the returns, although moderate, your risk is also moderate. It is the best, in a market, in the long term. It is going to give you stable or, slowly growing.
Hmm.
So the ability um, to withstand downtrend is better because वो इतना नहीं गिरता है जितना
Yeah,
mid cap या small cap गिरेगा.
yeah.
So typically, if an investor profile is of a less risk type. So if an investor, if she does not want to take too much of risk, or she is not aware, she is a new entrant into the mutual fund or equity market,
Hmm.
then a large cap exposure is definitely, a large cap and a balanced advantage is definitely a more preferred bet of focus of investment than another category. So
Okay.
if you ask me, large cap की categories, yeah, which is a good thing, then I would definitely recommend that
Especially
large
for
cap is more
maybe for
stable.
a first time investor, someone who's investing for the first time.
Yes, correct. So it's less volatile,
Uh,
it's stable, reliable because the top 100 companies, established companies are there. Yes, the only con is,
hmm.
uh, of course, lower growth potential in a great booming market.
Yeah.
Also, if there is an economic downturn, okay, affecting the larger industries, then it can be impacted slightly. But overall, compared to a flexi, a large cap is always a preferred bet.
We see that almost like SEBI has become very active these days. Also, the other agencies, so regulatory changes are happening every now and then. In fact, a couple of days back, also we saw, you know, especially with regard to NFOs also. So, how do these regulatory changes affect these funds? Because the पहले से existing funds हैं, are they affected in any way? And how do these regulatory changes affect, and what should the investors keep in mind while investing in funds?
So typically, Anupam, the most important thing
Hmm.
is the regulator is always working in the interest of the investor.
Yeah.
So that is their prime focus.
Hmm.
And therefore, over the last few years, you would have seen that there have been many changes.
Yeah.
Earlier on, we had so many funds. Okay? Like let's say any fund house, for that matter, they had one large cap fund, then they came up with a second large cap fund, then they came up with a third large cap fund. So the regulator started asking that if a large cap fund has certain number of, it has a criteria, if it has a categorization that it is supposed to invest only in these companies, then how come you are having
Hmm.
different funds? So merge them. Merging helps bring down the cost of the fund, and ultimately it is benefiting the investor in terms of lower cost.
Hmm. Okay.
So that's one. Again, NFOs, you brought up a point of NFOs. So again, the regulator here has been very heavy on all fund houses, telling them that unless it is a very special category, unless it is a niche category, unless you're doing something different than whatever are like the large cap funds, mid cap funds, or flexi, multi asset, whatever. If you're going to bring in something different than the funds you have already, only then the regulator wants you to bring out an NFO. So
Hmm.
in case a fund house wants to take more money from the, बहुत सारे NFOs आते रहते हैं,
Hmm.
to take in more
Yeah.
money from the investor. But the regulator has been very heavy on the fund houses and distributors, saying that unless it's a category which is not available with you, you cannot bring out an NFO. So that's in a sense a good thing.
A lot of thematic funds coming out in the last, especially post COVID. So how would you like? Do you believe in them? Because maybe beach में defense stocks were doing very well. Uh, Also railway, infra, ये सब thematic funds came out. Now after this correction, even the investor has become very, unsure about. What is your take on thematic funds going forward from here. Abhi market is a little up, only for 2-3 days actually. So, what is your take on the thematic funds? Uh, like, should one have one, or we can avoid?
So, uh, typically, when you're looking at a thematic fund, it is largely going to be investing in a particular theme or a particular sector. So if I want to categorize, large cap, flexi cap, multi cap, thematic or a sectoral, so one should go in for a particular theme or a sector only and only if you have the ability to take that kind of risk. Okay?
Hmm.
Because typically, if you look at a particular theme, let's say solar or electric or technology, okay?
Hmm.
If it is a performing sector, your large cap or flexi cap, would definitely also want to encash in that on that theme. So when we are talking, Anupam, of young investors or the new investors or women investors who are looking at a very balanced approach or a stable approach, for them, if we are talking of a thematic fund, it's a very it's your risk tolerance,
Yeah, it's
आपकी
high.
risk appetite
Appetite
should be a
high है.
little higher.
Yeah.
या बिकॉज या जैसे फ्लेक्सी कैप में क्या होता है, फंड मैनेजर को ये फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी है कि जो सेक्टर या जो जो सेगमेंट परफॉर्म कर रहा है उसमें आप मूव कर लो,
Hmm.
राइट। बट आप जब थीमेटिक या सेक्टोरल फंड लेते हैं, तो वो फंड मैन वो थीम का एक अंडरलाइन ये रहता है नॉर्म कि आपको इसी चीज में इन्वेस्ट करना है। अब कल जाके वो इफ दैट थीम डज नॉट परफॉर्म, द फंड मैनेजर डज नॉट हैव द राइट टू गो एंड चेंज इट
Hmm.
unless you're making those changes in the offer documents.
Yeah.
So therefore, my, as a distributor, I always suggest that flexi or large caps would definitely have that kind of exposure to those segments. So take that average risk unless your risk appetite is very high. And entry point, exit point भी आपको पता रहना चाहिए कि if that sector has done its growth,
Hmm.
do you have the ability to come out of that segment and put it into another segment? So that's where the risk tolerance is very high, and the investor should have the ability to take that kind of risk. Like at one point in time, I'm talking of maybe from 1996 to 2001 or six, power segments were doing well. Okay, and then NFOs had come out, and a lot of people put money in power sectors, and then it crashed, and people were worried that, "Arey, why is this fund not performing?" But if that sector is not doing well, the fund manager cannot change the theme of the fund.
Yeah.
So therefore, that fund kept on lagging. So you have to have that risk ability to either wait it out
Hmm.
or then cut your losses, because the fund manager cannot take that call. So therefore, if you have a multi-theme fund or a fund which is diversified, the fund manager will take a call on the business cycle, and you would be having enough exposure in different themes.
In the last 3-4 years, if someone would have invested in an infra fund, so that kind of made a lot of money. But after some time, you should know when to
Yeah,
redeem, when you have to
exit.
come out
Yes.
of that fund.
Yeah,
Okay, I have this one last question for the audience, which is like,
sure.
tell me one fund from here on, from the current market, and someone who's in beginning investing. Okay, which is the fund and the investment period is 5 years. Okay, the person is ready to invest and wait out for 5 years. So which fund out of these three? Actually, there are many other, but I picked these three because most of the people ask about these three funds only. So out of these three, which one would you advise? The time period is 5 years, and the person is a first time investor.
Anupam, what we do is, or any investor should always know, like you told me that it is a 5-year horizon.
Yeah.
Okay. So I investor know his or her goal. See,
Hmm.
typically what happens is
Which is the
very
goal?
often,
Ah.
which is a fine. What is your financial goal?
Hmm.
What happens typically is people think, अरे मेरे पास थोड़ा surplus है, मैं invest कर देता हूँ. Oh,
Hmm.
market is going up. Let me, बहती गंगा में हाथ धो लो.
Hmm.
And because you don't have a goal, anytime if the market does come down, or you find some another lucrative opportunity, somebody's come and told you, आपका आपके दोस्त आके बोलते हैं अरे यहाँ पे पैसे डालो, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
तो आपने पैसे निकाल लिए और उधर डाल दिए.
हाँ, ऐसा कई लोग
So
करते हैं.
this, yes, so this typically happens when you have not aligned your investment to a financial goal. Now, typically, if my investor says that my goal is my child's education, or let's say a
Hmm.
young investor, जैसे आपने कहा, it's a young investor. हम
Yeah.
यंग इन्वेस्टर्स को बोलते हैं कि आप थोड़ा पैसा अपने खुद के एजुकेशन के लिए भी रखिए. यू शुड इन्वेस्ट इन योर सेल्फ एज अ ग्रोइंग इन्वेस्टर.
Hmm.
So then if that bit of money is going to be required in 2 years, 3 years, then there'll be some portion of money which will be required for a longer period of time. So
Hmm.
so I your question was which is the best recommended fund.
Yeah, out of
So
these three.
unless we, yeah, so typically first thing is know yourself. Okay. What is my risk tolerance? Anybody will say कि अरे फ्लेक्सी कैप में डाल दो, it's one of the best performing category.
Hmm.
But will you lose sleep over it? अभी जैसे फ्लेक्सी कैप्स have fallen very much.
Hmm.
Let's say if the market has fallen 15-18%, flexi caps have fallen more.
Yeah.
Your investor, as an investor, somebody may feel, oh, I got a wrong piece of advice.
Hmm.
कि I wanted growth, but this has fallen. So, so the moment you have tagged a goal to your investment, what happens is I am telling the investor that look, even though the market is down now, your goal is 7 years away or 8 years away.
Hmm.
And in this time, the market will come back again. So don't worry about the market fall. It's essential, Anupam, that our investor should understand कि ये पैसा मुझे कब लगने वाला है. तो फिर वो 3 years 5 years नहीं सोचेगा, वो गोल
Hmm.
के हिसाब से ही सोचेगा. एंड दैट इज वाई दैट एसेट एलोकेशन, कि अगर मुझे 2 साल में अपने एजुकेशन के लिए कुछ पैसे चाहिए तो आई पुट इट इन अ बैलेंस एडवांटेज फंड. बट yes, some part of that fund I require only after 7-8 years, then that portion I can keep it towards flexi cap. And then some portion I may require maybe in the next 3-4 years, I could put that much money in the large cap. So that's why if you ask me which is the best,
Hmm.
everything is good and everything has its risk. No,
Yeah.
so that is why a little bit of distribution tagged to your goals will help the investor uh, not lose sleep over their investments.
Okay, so the
Because you have
basic thing
tagged,
is that
yeah,
margin of safety should be there, and you
always.
should not, the principal should be saved always. This is like, as it's always
Yes,
there.
it's
That is how.
absolutely. Asset allocation, capital protection, especially a new investor who is experiencing the market for the first time.
Hmm.
Uh, a lot of young investors had got into the market during COVID,
Yeah.
when the market had fallen. And then they have only, till this market fall, they only saw up, 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 up. And everybody becomes a very smart investor because उन्होंने ये fall देखा नहीं है.
Hmm.
Now what is happening? They say, oh my God, what's wrong with the market? It's a bad market.
Yeah.
No, this is a cycle. Even
Yeah.
like you said, 29 years may know this has been one of the consecutive fall period.
5 year fall,
But
or 5 month fall.
ultimately,
Sorry, 5 month
yes,
fall.
5 month fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, if your goals are not now and you planned it wisely,
Hmm.
you will not lose sleep. Yes, थोड़ी बहुत हार्ड बर्न होगी क्योंकि हमने देखा अरे मेरा प्रॉफिट था, अब प्रॉफिट में नुकसान हो रहा है.
Hmm.
But you will not tend to go and sell your investments in loss.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Okay. Yeah.
So
So
that is important.
okay. Yeah. So the goals are important. You should know why. So what I gather from this nice talk is that A, you should know your goal. B, you should
Right.
know your risk appetite, and C, you should be patient. You have to be patient.
Absolutely.
The market cannot go one way up. this has taught this recent fall has taught, I think, most of the investors, even like us also, who've been in the market for some time, that हम भी भूल
Yeah,
गए थे कि ऐसा करेक्शन भी आ सकता है, because this happened after 29 years. So I was in school. So I mean, even I have not.
back to school.
Yeah, so it was like, this is a good schooling experience even for us who are in the market before
Seasoned,
COVID.
yeah, seasoned investors.
And I don't know
Correct.
if I'm seasoned or not, but I'm not, I'm older than this COVID wala generation. So I've been here for some time, but people who invested in COVID, they, because they got really worried and should continue their investments. That is important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So typically, whenever I have a young client,
Hmm.
okay, so I ask them a couple of questions. I try to understand their lifestyle. I check with them, are you going to Starbucks? Or are you going for a coffee? And how much money do you spend on that?
Hmm.
And people, youngsters, very easily say, "Oh, we do go to Starbucks. We spend about 700 rupees a week, or maybe once in 15 days. So that's about 2,000 a month
Yeah.
on a bare minimum." So I said, "Give me that money. Of course, you should live your life, but instead of going 3 to 4 times, try just going once. Save that money, and whenever you start your SIP, SIPs, think that market नीचे नीचे ही जाना चाहिए because I want to get more units." So typically,
Or
Anupam, we
anything.
have a very simple thing. If the market is going up, more value, but if the market is going down, more units.
Units. Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
so both are good and both should happen. It should not go one way or one way. So if it's going down, I encourage them more units. You're going to get more units. Wait till it starts coming up, and you will see the beauty of buying more units now.
Yeah.
So it's
So,
a win-win.
Kavita, for this lovely interaction, and I hope this helps a lot of new investors and people who want to enter the market, but they don't know how to enter. And especially after this fall, they were, oh, मैंने बोला था ना कि ये risky है, मैं नहीं कर, I will not get into the market and all, even though they know that mutual funds are a safe way to enter the market, but they don't know which fund to buy. And of course, as you said, that you have to have certain things in mind, which I've already spoken about. And then you can start your investment with as less as 2,000 rupees, as you said already. So I
500.
500, yeah, 500. So it's like you can have a couple of coffees less in in a
Yes,
month or
yes.
so, or buy a less sari for women, especially one sari less. एंड आई थिंक एक्चुअली सारी से भी कम है 500, तो उससे भी ज्यादा में ही आती है सारी.
बिल्कुल.
एंड सो एंड दैट वुड हेल्प यू build some amount, and then you feel happy, because I've seen women, I know women who are my clients, who now are very happy that अरे इतने महीने में भी 10,000 हो गया, जो उन्होंने like 500 से शुरू किया था. So anyway, thanks a lot, and I hope to see you again soon. And then we'll talk about some more funds if you have time, whenever you're free. And
Sure,
thanks a
sure. I
lot.
would love to.
And happy
And thank you so much. So
welcome.
much. Thank you for having me. And I wish all the viewers once again happy International Women's Day. And thank you, Anupam. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, same here. Likewise.